bottles in this bitch, 100 models in this bitch. We gon' party like we won the fucking lotto in this bitch. Living reckless, yeah, we know your crew can't hang. We in the section, throwing up them hundreds like it's change. SIMBA, back at it, I'm down in the fifth. I bought the whole shit, making moves, I'm out of the trench. Got out of LA, West Coast, where I represent. Alright, so this is the most terrifying killer. The Jayme close story. Jayme? We're just gonna say the most terrifying killer. Let's jump up in it, man.
Cases like this don't happen. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mr. Ballin here. You probably know me from TikTok. In fact, I bet there's a percentage of people that are on this YouTube video just because they watched my TikTok version of this case, the Jayme Close case. And so thank you for making the jump and watching the full version. I hope you'll stick around and you'll actually subscribe to my channel, because I'm trying to make YouTube my primary medium for sharing stories with the world. It'll be much the same content that I'm putting on TikTok, you know, scary stories, murder mysteries, unsolved stuff, spooky stuff, dark stuff, just kind of anything that's compelling. And YouTube's gonna be the place where I try to do that primarily. And so I'm already committing to doing, one video on YouTube a week. I'm trying to make it two. This is the first week I've done two, so we'll see how it plays out. I do have, 3 kids and other job responsibilities, so it's a little hard to juggle, but I love doing this stuff. So please, if you enjoy this video and you like my content, please subscribe, please stick around. So with today's case, the Jayme Close case, the reason I ended up choosing this one and making a TikTok version of it, now a YouTube version of it, is actually pretty straightforward. It's because even though it's true, if you were to make a movie out of this case, the viewers wouldn't really believe it, because the perpetrator in this case has no motive and has no history of committing any crimes. I think he had a parking ticket, and he targets a child. Which, I mean, putting that all together, you don't see that. That is not a popular archetype for a movie. The idea that there are just these random, perpetrators out there just targeting random children and harming them and their families. There has to be a motive, especially when it comes to children being involved. There has to be a motive. And in this case, there really wasn't. And even the perpetrator, when he was in prison, he wrote a letter to Jayme and her surviving family members where he kind of tried to explain why he did it, but even he didn't have strong enough language to communicate what it was. He made it seem like it was pretty complicated, and even he didn't know. He just said, hey, look, I'm not a serial killer. I just had to do this, and I don't really know why. So it's just one of the more
what type of devil within me?
When you go.
Yo, if someone wrote a letter, if someone tried to hurt my family members and then wrote us a letter talking about, I don't even know why I did it, bro. Like, my fault. It just had to be done. I'd be like, what type of conjuring shit, Annabelle? What? What you mean, bro? What you mean? What do you mean you don't know? What do you mean it's complicated? What do you mean it had to be done? What had to be done? That's wild.
Into it knowing that this whole thing was perpetrated by someone who had no criminal history. He had no connection to the victims, except that he randomly had a chance encounter with one of them. And it just kind of happened. It's just one of those horrible things that even now, no one really understands, including the killer himself. So let's dive into it. In 2018, 21-year-old Jake Patterson is on his way to work at a cheese factory in Wisconsin. He'd only been working there for a couple of days. This is like his 3rd day on the job. He's this kind of typical guy leading a typical life in Wisconsin. And he's driving his Ford Taurus. He comes to a stop behind a school bus where middle school kids are getting on the bus. And he's sitting there and he looks up and he sees, for the first time in his life, a blonde-haired, green-eyed girl who ended up being 13-year-old Jayme Close. And as he's sitting there, because this all came out in a very lengthy confession, so we have lots of details about this case. As he's sitting there watching Jayme, who again, he doesn't know, get on the bus, he has this realization that she is going to be the girl that he takes. He actually says that sitting behind the wheel, he's like, I realized right then and there that she's the one I'm gonna take.
What?
And so a guy with no criminal history, he's sitting there coming up with this plan of how he's gonna abduct this girl. And it would come out later in his confession, which again was very lengthy, that he put a ton of effort into planning out this abduction. So let's talk about Jake's plan. He takes his father's Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun, which is a very commonly purchased weapon. He assumed that because it is, so widely purchased, it would be hard to track. Okay, so he takes his gun, takes a couple slugs, so he's got his weapon. Then he goes and purchases a balaclava, so a mask, a whole head mask from Walmart. He shaves his head, shaves his beard so that there wouldn't be any hairs, for forensic evidence at the crime scene. This is all so premeditated. He went out and purchased gloves and wiped his gloves all so they wouldn't have prints on them. He purchased steel-toed boots and dark jeans and a dark jacket. In the car he was going to use, because he plans on abducting Jayme, and he knew he was going to be keeping her in the trunk. He cut the cord inside of his vehicle. It was when you press this button inside the car, it would open the trunk. Basically, he didn't want any access to the trunk unless you had the key. So he cuts that cord. He disconnected the dome light inside of his Taurus, his Ford Taurus, to try to better conceal him when he's in the car. I mean, this guy, he's really thinking hard about how he's going to do this. He knew he was going to go in that house, he's going to take Jayme, and he had his big plan, right? 2 separate times, Jake tried, unsuccessfully, to abduct Jayme. He drove to their house the first time, and there were cars in the driveway, so he got spooked and he leaves. He comes back and he's about to drive up the driveway when lights come on, so he leaves again. But on October 15th, 2018, unfortunately, he was successful. It was around midnight when Jake Patterson rolls into the close family's driveway. The lights in his car are off, the headlights are off, and he rolls into the driveway. And inside of this very modest home, Jayme was sleeping with her dog, Molly. And Molly hears the car pull into the driveway and starts barking. Wakes up Jayme. Jayme looks out, she sees a car she doesn't recognize, it's the middle of the night. And she runs to her parents' room and she alerts her parents. Jayme's father, James, he goes to the front door with a flashlight. Meanwhile, Denise, that's Jayme's mother, and Jayme retreat into the bathroom where they shut the door. They sense that this was potentially going to be a home invasion, and certainly they were right. So they actually barricade the door with a dresser that was in there. And they get in the tub and they shut the curtains. And so James is at the front door and he watches Jake Patterson get out of his car, calmly walk up the steps to the front door. And at this time, James is thinking that perhaps this is the police. And so when Jake arrives at the door and starts banging on the door, James shines his light out through the window, kind of gets a peek at him, then moves over to the door itself where there's this little tiny window on the door. And he looks through, shining the light, and he says, "Show me your badge." And unfortunately, it was at the same time that Jake raises his shotgun and pulls the trigger, shoots right through the glass, hits James, and James dies immediately.
Whoa!
Back in the bathroom,
yo, what the hell? Right off the rip? You just coming in shooting people right off the jump?
Unfortunately, it was at the same time that Jake raises his shotgun and pulls the trigger, shoots right through the glass, hits James, and James dies immediately. Back in the bathroom, Jayme would later say that when she heard that shotgun blast, that she knew that her father was dead. And I think Denise, her mother, knew that as well, because immediately Denise picks up her phone and calls 911 as she's talking to the dispatcher who said that there were no police in the area. So further confirming that this was definitely not the police, because they didn't see that interaction at the door, they just heard it. Jake at the front door is trying to bust in the door. He can't do it, so he takes his shotgun, ejects a spent round, and then puts a slug through the doorknob, making it come wide open. He pushes it open, steps over the body of James, and begins to search the house. The house is empty, every door is open except one, and it's the bathroom door where Denise and Jayme are hiding in the bathroom. Jake begins to try to push the door open. He can't do it, and finally he just starts trying to smash the door in. And after 10, 15 blows, he actually managed to split the top half of the door open because the dresser was blocking the lower half. He goes into the bathroom and he rips down the shower curtain, and there is Denise bear hugging and protecting her daughter, Jayme, in the tub. Jake hands duct tape to the mother, Denise, and tells her to put duct tape over the mouth and the hands of her daughter. She refuses. She's protecting her daughter. Jake sets his shotgun down, pushes Denise aside, and does it himself. And then, after getting Jayme out of the tub, he picks his shotgun up again, aims it at the mother, turns his head, and he pulls the trigger, and he kills the mother. Picks up Jayme, who's only about 5 foot, 100 pounds, and he drags her out to his car, opens up the trunk of his Taurus, puts her in, shuts it, and he's on his way. He was in the house for a total of 4 minutes. He would say in his confession, Jake, that as he's driving away, about 20 seconds after departing the house, he saw all the cop cars coming down the road, and actually police officers would say they remembered a Taurus yielding to the police cruisers as they came in. He makes his way around them and off he goes. And Jayme would say she remembered hearing the sirens, and then they fade as they disappear. Jake would drive 70 miles to his house where he would keep Jayme prisoner. For the next 3 months, investigators, the local population, everybody is looking for Jayme. And at the same time, I mean, people didn't have high hopes for her safe return. I mean, in the vast majority of cases like these, where a child's been abducted, unfortunately, they usually don't get home safe. And so the whole community is just devastated. This is gaining national attention. Everybody's looking for Jayme and they can't find her. The whole time, she was being held 70 miles away in Jake Patterson's cluttered, kind of crummy house that was out in the middle of the woods. When they got to his house, he burned her clothes and his gloves and the duct tape. He gave her his sister's pajamas, and then he had her go under the bed, this bed he had in the house, and he barricaded her underneath the bed. And so she had a pillow and a blanket, and she was just underneath this bed. That was it. She basically was ignored. I mean, her captor, Jake Patterson, he puts her under the bed and he warns her, if you leave or try to escape, bad things are going to happen to you. And because she did witness him kill her parents, she knows he's capable of that, and he knows that she knows that he's capable of that. So he had this stranglehold on her where he basically just said, "You're staying under the bed. And don't you dare leave." And she listened, and frankly, you can't blame her, right? And so she would go stretches of 8, 10, 12 hours of laying under the bed with no food, no water, no bathroom breaks.
So what is the point of you taking her if you're just gonna not feed the girl, give her no water, and fucking put her under the bed like she's a fucking what? Like, bro, what? I don't understand it. I don't understand. I don't understand, bro. I don't understand why people do things like that. Like, what is the point? What is the end product of that? You just ripped this girl's family from her. Like, her mom and dad is gone. Now she's sleeping under some fucking weird ass bed with no food, no water. For what? For what? For what? Like, what? Like, and like he said in the beginning, like, he can't even explain it. Like, what the hell? Like, come on, bro. Come on, man. That's crazy.
Ultimately, she was just kind of ignored. There wasn't really a plan for what was going to happen when she got to the house. He just kind of neglected her. After 2 weeks where he was really on guard, and he told her that he was keeping a shotgun right outside her door in case anything went down with the police, when no one came looking for them, or when no one arrived at his place, he felt very confidently that he had gotten away with this crime.
Wow.
To the point where Jayme would say, he started having guests over. He had friends over, and he just told her, stay in the room, don't come out. And so for 87 days, that's how it was. She just was neglected. This poor girl was underneath this bed, you know, just wondering what the heck's going to happen, with obviously no time to grieve over the loss of her parents. Mr. Patterson, he really didn't leave the house. And when he did, I think he left one time to visit a grandparent, and he was very aggressive in warning her that he would hurt her if she tried to leave. But for the most part, you know, he didn't leave the house. But you could tell in looking at this case that he became fairly confident that he was just going to get away with this. And so he actually applied for a job. He left one morning to go to the interview, and it's kind of funny on his, in a dark way. He wrote on his, what did he write? On his application that he's an honest, hardworking guy, and under skills, he said he doesn't have much work experience, but he shows up to work and is a quick learner. And so here he goes. He goes out to just get a job and go back to normal. And when he left that...
That's sick, bro. That is sick and mind-blowing. My man really just killed 2 people, right? Took the child, put the child under the bed like she's a fucking troll, or, you know, or the boogeyman, and then went and just carried on with life. I'm gonna go get a job, you feel me? I'm gonna go get a job, make some money. I'm gonna have guests over, you feel me? What in the flying? What? Come on, man.
That morning, Jayme, who's under the bed, is just, she's done. She's not going to be a captive anymore. And as soon as he leaves, she pushes aside the barricade of, you know, there's some weights that were there and dressers. She pushes it all aside. She runs out. She puts on his shoes, which are too big for her. She puts them on the wrong feet. And she runs out the door. She doesn't know where she is. She doesn't know anything, but she's gone. A woman was walking her dog around 4 p.m. Her name was Jeannie Nutter. And she sees this girl, this teenager, who doesn't have a coat on, she doesn't have gloves on. It's bitterly cold. They're in the middle of Wisconsin in the wintertime. And she sees her coming towards her, and she can tell kind of instinctively that something's wrong. Okay, this is not just,
yeah, that's not normal
coming down the road. There's an issue here. And as she got closer, and the girl said, "I'm lost, I need help, my name is Jayme," the woman, Jeannie, said that she immediately knew who it was. She lived in the area, and she had seen the posters up for Jayme. She knew exactly who she was. She gave her a big hug and held her and said, you know, "I've got you. I'm going to take care of you." And so holding her closely, she brings her to a nearby neighbor's house. She said, this is Jayme Close. We have to call the police. And they go in there, and the homeowners got their weapons out, and they guarded the door, and they huddled around Jayme while Jeannie called the police. And the police just didn't even know what to do. They were so shocked that they had found Jayme Close that it actually took a minute for them to recognize what they were saying and how urgent it was that you come here right now, because at some point her captor, who can't be that far away, is going to recognize that she's not there anymore.
Oh yeah.
And so they send the police, and you know, luckily Jayme is brought in and is saved. You know, certainly not from the emotional toll, but she's physically safe. Jake comes home from his big job interview, and he sees that Jayme's gone, and he sees footsteps leaving his property in the snow, and he goes out looking for her. And you know, just because this is the way things go sometimes, he was immediately rounded up by the police. They found his car, they found him, and as soon as he was pulled over, he didn't resist. In fact, he immediately identified himself and said that he did it. Jake Patterson was given a life sentence without the opportunity for parole, so he will die in prison. But to this day,
kill that man, bro.
Understands how this could have happened. And going back to what I said at the beginning, cases like this don't happen. There's always some reason for a crime such as this. We can't, as human beings, accept that some stranger has the ability to randomly target a child and go as far as to kill their parents in front of them and hold them hostage when they have no criminal history. There's no red flags. It just, he happened to see her getting on a bus, and that was all he needed. I mean, how could that possibly be the case?
That's crazy.
This unfortunate case, it just is. So that's gonna do it, guys. I hope.
Bro, I'm sick of the life sentences, bro. Like, kill these people, bro. You feel me? Like, find the most, like, stone them, crucify them. Like, let's go back to the old days and start crucifying people, bro. Because, like,
that's sick. Okay, that is sick. That is sick. They should really feel that pain that person has felt, that they inflict on that person. Like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm sick in the head too. I don't know. But I'm just saying they should feel that pain, bro. They really should, because, like, what, bro? Better start, man, executions and all types of crazy shit, man. You feel me? Off with your head. You feel me? That's what I'm talking about. Like, all this life sentence stuff. Nah, he don't deserve a life sentence, bro. He deserve to feel all that pain very slowly. You know? That's what I think. That's what I think, bro.